Welcome back. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill today held a hearing on the deadly cargo ship collision that caused the collapse of Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge. The NTSB chair was one of 4 officials to testify about the federal response to the disaster, which killed 6 construction workers. The testimony comes just a day after the NTSB released a preliminary report on its investigation. That report found that the ship, Dali, lost power twice before slamming into the bridge.
The ship had an emergency generator, which automatically started following the first blackout on the 26th. However, the generator only powers systems like emergency lighting, navigation, radio equipment, alarms, and a steering pump that allowed for low-speed, limited rudder movements. It does not power propulsion, and without the propeller turning, the rudder was less effective. They were essentially drifting.
Ryan Nobles covers Capitol Hill for NBC News. He's also covered the bridge collapse in the days after the disaster, and he joins me now. So, Ryan, the NTSB's report yesterday said that the Dali lost power twice the day before the accident. Did those outages have anything to do with what happened the next day?
I think that is the big question that the NTSB is trying to answer right now, Yamiche, and they point out that this is out of the ordinary, that a vessel of this size would lose power 2 different times before it would leave on the type of voyage that the Dali was set to take out on the following day. And the NTSB chair in her testimony today pointed out that they moved to a backup breaker system, a system that hadn't been used in months. Now, that's not out of the ordinary. Sometimes that happens, but they do have serious questions as to just how reliable that breaker system was, especially given the fact that it failed the very next day. So they have yet to definitively link these 2 separate power outages, but it does seem like a pretty incredible coincidence, and it is the first we're learning of it, and it has become a key part of this investigation, Yamiche.
Certainly a lot of questions around that. Of course, how much does the NTSB also know about what caused the ship to lose power the night that it struck the bridge?
It really doesn't have a lot of answers yet, Yamiche, and they are, that's part of the reason that their investigators are still there on the ship. In fact, the chair of the NTSB testified that there were investigators on the ship during her testimony today, and they have been there every single day since the ship crashed 50 days ago. And remember, that ship is still in the middle of the Patapsco River. It has yet to be moved. So they believe that this is going to be a long-term investigation where they're trying to piece apart everything that could potentially go wrong. They're talking to the manufacturers of the power grid. They're talking to the owner of the ship. They're talking to the crew members. It is a very complex and very intricate vessel that we're talking about here. This isn't something where they can easily determine what went wrong, and it was likely a series of things that went wrong that led to this terrible disaster.
It was a terrible disaster, and with that in mind, after today's hearing, what might Congress likely do to take the action here to maybe try to prevent some of these?
Well, there's a long list of things that Congress is at least looking into, and there's obviously the issues specifically related to the Dali itself, to that company, to the conduct of the crew members leading up to the accident. But there's also they can also widen their aperture and look at the issue of these massive bridges and these massive shipping containers that are going underneath them, and try and figure out, sometimes things just go wrong. How do you prevent a shipping container from careening into the base of a bridge? And many of the newer bridges that are being built around the country have what they call these dolphin barriers that basically would force a ship to ground before it got to the point where it would smash into the base of a bridge, especially because many of the bridges that are being built now are even taller. They cover much wider spans than they have in the past. So there's a long list of things Congress is looking into.
Well, Ryan Nobles on Capitol Hill, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.